Hi everyone, it's Sean. How are you? Hashtag SCREWYOULEG. So what I want to share with you today is how I fixed my problems walking. So I've shown you already, when I got out of bed and I fell over and I was like, oh Christ, what's going on? And I explained that I fell over because obviously if you imagine you stand still now, you get someone stand in front of you, close their eyes, and if you push the person back by their chest, eventually they'll get to that point. I can't believe I'm doing it like on the video in front of you, but you get to the point where you start going, and the muscle that you use, not being paralysed like I am, is your gluteus maximus, or your buttocks, or your bum, all those pretty names that we use for that. That's what that stops you from there. Now the same thing again. If you close your eyes and someone starts to push you from behind, you get to a certain point where you start to dig your toes into the floor. Right, but the main muscle that you use to stop you from going forward is your thighs, right? So your thigh stops you from moving forward, so it's your balance point. Your thigh, think of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, that massive, great big body on a tiny little, tiny little dinosaur legs, right? That means his thighs have to be absolutely ridiculously strong, yeah, to support that weight. Imagine if you took that away from him, he wouldn't be able to run, wouldn't be able to do anything. Well, that's what I've got. If you're wondering how I'm standing up and doing this I'll explain to you quickly. So I've got movement, I've got flexion. So I've got hamstring movement and I've got calf movement. So my disability stops me from, I can move my leg to there, okay? Like I can with this one. I can raise my foot to there using my hamstrings, okay? Correction. Hamstrings to there, quads up to there, okay? And then obviously the buttocks comes in when you stand up and start moving around. You stand up, your buttocks kick in, your transverse abdominis, which is the line of muscle going from inside underneath your abs, that tightens up, you stand up, that's your core strength, right? Anyway, back to my leg. So I can move my foot from there to there, but if you look, my heel is stuck to the floor. I can move my toe up and down, I can move my foot around because I've control of all the muscles here in my foot. I also have control of what's called your iliotibial band. Your iliotibial band is a muscle that basically your thigh muscle comes across. The iliotibial band actually starts there and it runs down the side of your leg there and sticks there. Now for soldiers, you'll have heard of a thing called shin splints. Shin splints, the reason why I used to make you actually warm up and why people who didn't warm up and then went out on tabbing used to get shin splints all the time is because if you imagine an elastic band, blue tack, take blue tack out of the pack, right? And then you start to pull it apart straight away like that, blue tack then will break, yeah? You take the same blue tack, you roll it around in your hands for about 30 seconds, it gets nice and warm, you pull it and it stretches and stretches and stretches and stretches and it doesn't break. The muscles in your body are exactly the same. That's why we do a warm up, that's why we do a warm down. The cool down is to get rid of the lactic acid. The lactic acid makes your muscles seize. So stretching the muscles out actually releases the tension and all the lactic acid within the muscles, therefore lets them return back to the normal state. If you leave the lactic acid in there, you feel cramped up and it hurts. That's why if you don't stretch off, you get a stand up and you go home, try and stand up again, and you're like, oh Christ, my leg. That's because you didn't get rid of the lactic acid in your body and therefore your muscle has not returned to that a natural state. Anyway, so I have that motion. The problem I've got is if I lift my leg up and support my knee and isolate my knee, so now I'm going to use only my quadricep to try and raise my foot. Like I said, raise the foot like this. My paralysis is stopping me. So look at my face. I'm trying every inch of my being to try and raise it. I can't do that. I have actually had improvements. So you've got movements which are called your isometric isotonic movements, right? So imagine my arm out like this, and I'm doing a bicep curl. Bicep curl is an isometric movement. An isotonic movement is where I flex like this. Guys at the gym will be doing reps, maxing out, and they'll do a superset. A superset is an isotonic movement. They'll hold stupid weights on biceps curls. They'll be like 70 kilograms, and they'll be holding it isometric. Hold it down like that. That's a 1 set superset rep. That burns, it breaks all the muscles. Imagine this, little men inside your muscles. That's how I've always described it to people. You're training, your muscles are little men all held together like this. Tiny little men. all in lines, next one, next one, next one, right? You're doing your supersets, the hands break, another little man runs in between, jumps in, but he's really weak, he's like a little baby one, he's not even like half as strong as the other ones, and his fingertips are breaking off. Then you go into the gym, you take all your BCAAs, you take all of your, take proteins, and what's the other one? They do, oh, I can't remember the name now, bloody hell. Creatines. So what the creatines do, and your BCAAs and your protein, the protein feeds him, the creatine makes him strong, the BCAAs give him the nutrients, right? That's the only three things you need. You don't need steroids. Steroids are for people that want to have the perfection bodies. I'm not saying anything wrong with steroids, but that's, if you want to be fit and healthy, athletic body, you want the BCAAs, the creatine, protein, that's what they do. The other stuff, anyway, we'll divulge it, we'll get into that another time. But in this sense, that's what's happening. So we've got isotonic, isometric, right? And then we've got the sensation of the skin. When I came into hospital, I was 100% paralysis. I had no movement at all, no flexion, no nothing. I had no isotonic movement, and I had no conduction of the skin at all. Today, as I speak to you, and we're day 12 after, day 12 since I came to hospital. The date today is the 9th. I had my surgery on the 5th. So that's what, 5 days later? No, it's not correct. No, I didn't. Sorry. Confirmation was the 5th, so it's the 27th I had my surgery. So how many months are we in, David? 28, 29, 28?
Leap year.
20, what?
It's a leap year.
29. I was in hospital, dude. 29. It's the 29th, so that's 2 days plus 9, so it's 11 days ago. So in 11 days, I've gone from 0% paralysis, right? Watch this. Maybe you can get my knee. So when I came into hospital, I had absolutely zero flexion, as in the sense that I could move it, raise it up. And here I had zero as well. So I had no isometric and I had no isotonic. Right now, if you look at my knee, see that movement? Yeah? We're getting better. I can flick it. Look. So that is representing the nerve, the pressure, the blood, or whatever's caused this, the blood. If you imagine a tube, like a hollow tube, running down the leg, which is going to be like your artery. Sorry, the artery, the nerve. Hollow tube. In this instance, I want you to imagine water, right? It goes down, and then it has smaller tubes which go off to the body to where it fires off, right? So I've got damage somewhere. We don't know where it is. We can't figure it out, right? But imagine it's water going down that tube. So something has squeezed the tube, therefore the water is not going through, so it's stopping it, yeah? And that could have been blood pressure creating that sensation there, the squeezing sensation. We don't know. That's what my tests have proven. That's what we're trying to find out. So if this is released, or let's say, for instance, the damage is made, the nerve stay contracted, because obviously the nerve is set in this position, these smaller holes have actually started to not work properly, function. Maybe they've cleared over. I don't know what they've done, but they've actually stopped working properly. And smaller holes or smaller release stress points have been created, because there's going to be an electrical current system going through there. Your brain works by sending electrical system currents over some sensor points down through your body, and it's picked up at the other end, right? But in this instance, what I think is happening when I get the twitches, is the blood has released the nerve, the pipe is open slightly, but not enough for the full signal to go down, and we're slightly still damaged here. So what's happening is every so often it's doing this. It's going from closed, it's going like that, and it's going back into its full thing. But the flow is going in, it's going boop, 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 and it's like I said to you before, I believe personally that those smaller tubes are stuck, or they're not working properly. So that electrical current is going up to where there's a possible break. The electrical current has nowhere else to go, but it's still in the system. So therefore it's dissipating through fractures, through cracks into the muscle. Therefore, have you ever been sat still and all of a sudden, for no reason whatsoever, you start getting a twitch or a twinge somewhere in your body? Similar sensation. Your body is just releasing over tension. So you've been training or something like that, it's built up some tension. That's your body twitching, that's the muscle twitching and firing off. Exactly the same sensation. I felt that 4 days ago. I've got it on video. I'm going to share it with you guys a bit later on. But that's what happened, right? And I woke up and I went, oh Christ, I bet you are that. And it's improved this. So that's what I think. I honestly believe that's what's happening here. I'm getting that. Look, if I don't raise my leg, David, feel this. So if I don't raise my leg fully, so I'm not putting a full tension on the hamstring and the calf. So if the thigh isn't under full tension, watch this. I've got full range of movement. And the further up I bring it to there, I've got none, right? So that is telling me that it's trying to fire back up, but somewhere along the line there's a break and the full signal is not going through the break point, okay? And that's where that is, that's what's happening. So anyway, back to my point. So what I've done is this. So I'm falling like this, right? And I was like, oh Christ. So what I've done is a thing called proprioception, right? Proprioception is when your body fires something off. So like I was saying to you before, your ass makes you stop going that way, your thigh makes you stop going this way. Your body knows. You can close your eyes and do it and if you really do what's called mind to muscle thinking, you can actually feel it, right? You can get inside your head and you can control your muscles with your mind thinking about it. So, okay, yeah, I've got that. Right, cool, wicked. This is where it comes in, right? So, I've got problems here, they're not working. So I was like, enough of this. So I said to myself, I'm gonna go and stand by the fridge, or it's not fridge, it's not a fridge, it's a sink. By the sink, and I'm gonna stand there and I'm gonna force myself to get into that position, and I'm gonna force my body to go beyond my comfortable spot. Where the first time I fell, I literally stood talking to a nurse and I forgot that I had paralysis, and I actually turned to walk away. And as I turned to walk away, as you can imagine, my buttocks wasn't there. My thigh was like, I can pull you back, I can pull you back. My thigh wasn't there, and I don't know what this felt like. It's the very first time, so I had no control. So I just fell this way. I had my crutches in my hands. They're no good to me. They hit the wall. I'm still falling, so I hit the wall with my face and I stood down the wall. It was actually quite funny, to be honest. It didn't hurt me at all because I can't feel anything. But the nurses were concerned. In my mind, I went, what the hell was that? Happened 3 more times the next couple of days, and I was like, I've had enough of this. So what I'm doing is this, holding on, and I set myself back there. That's where it goes. At that moment, David, can you come around this side? So, once again, I'm falling and you can see my face. What I'm going to do for this example, I'm going to take my shirt off. Ladies, you're welcome. Guys, you're welcome. Right. So, and this is 12 days in hospital. Just so you know. Right, so we're here. Watch this side. This is what I've trained my body to do. So, I am now going to force my quadricep on my left side, my buttocks on my left side. And do you remember I was telling you about that muscle called your transverse abdominis? Runs all the way down underneath your abs, connects to your pelvic floor there. You can control that if you train it, right? It's how you stop yourself from going for a wee. You've got the tube. Babies wet themselves because they have no control of that. So what happens is they get to a point where they're strong enough, their mind tells them they need to go for a wee. As they reach a point where the body can control it subconsciously, same as what I was just showing you there, the transverse abdominis contracts on the urethra, which is where you go to the toilet, subconsciously, and holds it. For boys, the penis is a muscle. What does it do? It flows blood inside of it to create it into its full width, so that then the muscle contracts and thus you don't go to the toilet. That's what morning glory is, just so you know. Right, back to this. So here we are. Right, watch here. I would take my trousers off and show you with Mandela on, but I'm not going to do that. You can just imagine it. You can see it in my face. So, and I'm going to do it without holding on to anything. In fact, I'm going to do it here. So you can see around me, there's nothing here, there's nothing for me to hold on to, and you've just seen me with my paralysis. It's the same video, okay? Watch this. So I'm going to send myself back there. Look at my arm. Now, look how tight that is. I'm using my arm. Think of people who balance on like those slack lines. They walk out, they're balancing, the proprioception's firing. They've got to get, oh shit, don't do that, fuck me. Excuse my language. Christ, I just forgot I was paralysed. I rose my leg and it just threw a sensation I've not experienced yet. You just saw that first time. That was a new experience. Apologise for the swearing. So anyway, so they're balancing, proprioception firing off, so they're balancing. So what I've done, there again, you see me go tight, you see it? Right, that is tight. I've actually transferred what that quadricep and that buttocks should be doing. They're no longer working, so I am telling my body that that quadricep, that buttocks, and my transverse abdominis and my oblique muscles on that side of the body, every time that happens, the more times I do it, it becomes muscle memory. Therefore, I can start throwing myself around, and I'm just, look at my foot. My foot's doing what my foot can do, my leg's doing what my leg can do. I'm not moving around. I'm therefore completely just avoiding any contraction or any motion, putting my body into any position where my quad or my buttocks would even engage. So therefore, I've eradicated me falling backwards. I'm still working on moving forwards because it's a completely different sensation, because I think I'm going to have to throw my head back and actually use the weight of my head and my shoulders, which will then extend me. I can then bring my chest into play, my lower back, and hopefully this is stuff later on which I'm going to work with a team of therapists, physiotherapists, specialised people, and I'm going to come up with an idea somehow, somewhere. You heard it here first. We're going to come up with a team of people that go into hospitals and find people in this brass, and we're going to mind map and teach people how to learn and teach themselves how to walk and move with full paralysis. Stay tuned for the next video, because I'm going to show you how I taught myself to walk using a previous injury. Everything in my life, like I said earlier in my other video, yeah, I've had an epiphany moment. Everything that has happened to me in my entire life, up to 36 years old, has all fallen into place. I will explain every step of it along the way, and I'm about to explain to you how, when I was wakeboarding doing a display show, I can't remember what year it was, 2005, 2006, I was doing a trick. I went to do what's called a back roll. So actually, yes, that's correct, the back roll. So you cut aggressively to the right, you do a really aggressive turn like this. If you look at my pictures from earlier back in the days, you see videos and pictures of me doing it. You do that, but for some stupid reason, I don't know why, I changed my mind at that moment. So I released myself into the air. Let me step back a bit so you can see what's going on. And I went into the air like that. And at that moment there, I decided to do what's called a switch grip. So you've got what's called a Superman, we call that a Rayleigh. You take off that foot, you release the right arm, which then brings you in line with the direction you're heading. Normally you would just go like, you go up into the air, you take off right foot forward, you release your right hand, you land left foot forward, you land like this, and off you go. But because I went like that, I ended up doing what's called a 911, which is actually where you flare your body out. I don't know what they call it, I think it's called a Christ star in skateboarding and motorbike racing. Like that. I've rotated all the way back. You remember I'm landing on my right foot. My right foot, because I've done a switch crypt, right? And because I came back so far, I landed with my leg completely locked straight. I was doing 33 kilometers an hour roughly, because obviously I've increased my speed, cutting fast. I've gone up to about 8 or 9 meters. I've over rotated, I've come back, I've landed with my leg completely and utterly straight. Now your patella is basically a hollow disc, bone disc, like this, which sits above your kneecap. Your two kneecap joints, obviously you've got like the cartilage and everything in between, they move independently inside the patella. That's why if you grab hold of your patella, it actually moves slightly, because it's actually floating, connected by tendons and ligaments and stuff like that. Anyway, when I hyperextended, the knee moved all the way up forward, and then once it went past and my patella snapped in half, my leg hyperextended up to there, so almost full. And because obviously the hamstrings then were under, I would say probably, Christ, that must have been, so you think all the way around, maybe 150% over hyperextension. So it whipped back like that. So it was a fraction of a second, but it happened, right? So then I went to a German hospital and had to have reconstruction surgery. So what they did was they took the patella away, because it was already bubbied anyway, right? So they removed it away. They then went inside my knee. You've got an anterior cruciate ligament which just goes through the middle. Now, anterior cruciate ligament, this is the important point, so David, you can get to my left leg. Anterior cruciate ligament, you see, is working in my left leg, stops you from hyperextending. I don't have an anterior cruciate ligament in my right leg. And the reason I do not have an anterior cruciate ligament in my right leg The epiphany moment that I'm talking about is this, is if I had one, I wouldn't be able to walk disabled, paralyzed. I am paralyzed in the thigh, I am paralyzed in the buttocks, I have no skin sensation, I shouldn't be bloody standing up. And I can walk, and I've corrected all the faults that are going on. And I'm going to pass this message on to every crippled person, sorry, crippled is the wrong word, disabled person for their injury. All right, and I'm going to spread this word around the world. I'm going to create a team of people that know this knowledge, that know this stuff, and we're going to come in and we're going to do mind mapping with people, and I'm going to train people who are paralyzed in certain positions to learn how to get their body working, mind mapping, proprioception, and there's another thing called calisthenics. Like calisthenics is that the right word? Calisthenics. Sorry, calisthenics, which is basically Olympics. It's all about core strength. It all comes into play, right? Calisthenics. So I'm doing the workout, guys. Look, my phone's on me. I'm working out. Bloody hell! I've been running. Flipping out. I've been running for 10 minutes and 11 seconds apparently. Thank you, Samsung Watch. Right. Anyhow, so what I was saying, I've got no anterior cruciate ligament. So with that said, if you look at this, you remember that one locked out there. Now watch this. For those of you who are squeamish, when this first started, it was at 0. Over the years, I keep stepping through and it's breaking. That used to hurt. I got to about 15, 16, and there was one time I stepped off a curb, it locked out, and it snapped through to 33 degrees. I have got 33 degrees hyperextension. The reason I have 33 degrees hyperextension, I believe, is for this purpose, because I'm going to show you a miracle. I'm going to show you something that I have come across that I actually have come up with myself. I stood up and I went, I can walk, I bet you I can, just got to figure it out. So watch, you ready? Watch my knee. Hyperextension, 33 degrees. If I do them side by side, I don't know if I can do that actually because I've got no bloody leg to stand on. Ready? David, you can run this side. Please, you can stand there. Right. So, if you look at my left leg there, and I put my knee and my feet together, 33 degrees hyperextension. You can actually see the angle of my leg is bowed the opposite direction. That's called hyperextension. That should hurt me because I do not have the cruciate ligament in my leg. And it's been going for so long, I have no pain. Now with that said, I have taught myself, if you look at my foot there, Dave, that I can step through on my foot, thus keeping my leg on the bone. It's a crucial point. If it went this way, I'd transfer the weight onto my buttocks and onto my thigh, that's the shin, right? I'm sorry, correction, that's not at all. That's coming down, so actually let's call that the kneecap. Let's get rid of that finger. So we've got come down here, we've got, if it come around this way, if it didn't hyperextend, it went that way, you can see what would happen actually, there you go. It would come through onto the thigh muscle and the buttocks for balance. I am locking my knee out in this direction. I'm standing on my heel, my leg is straight through the bone, and I'm rocking myself to the next step, stepping through, rocking myself to the next step. Only possible because of my 33 degrees hyperextension that's been caused by an injury previous. Like I said, all of my incidences and jobs and everything that I've done, I have had a eureka, a epiphany moment that has happened, and it's just all clicked. I mean, Christ, I hope everybody on the planet experiences what I've experienced over the last 12 days. Ending up in hospital, I mean, stuck in that bed has been, I mean, I've met my future wife from it. She doesn't, well, she knows that. Well, you do, guys, don't know that, you do now, right? That's another story. Just watch this space. Just everything. My whole life has fallen into place, and I'm hoping, give me 25 years and I'm going to fix a lot of stuff. There are some big changes coming up. Just keep an eye on this space. Hashtag SCREWYOULEG. Okay. Hang on.